Hi everybody, my name's Phil Deakin. I'm the Armed Forces Covenant Worker for Warwickshire County Council, and we're here today to have a conversation about the Census 2021 and the fact that it has a veterans question in it. With me, I have a colleague from Census 2021 who is Sally.
Hi, my name is Sally Bannister, and I'm the Office for National Statistics Census Engagement Manager for South Warwickshire. And I work alongside other colleagues throughout the country, as well as the county, Isabel Pemberton working in North Warwickshire, and Anima Chowdhury working in Coventry itself, Coventry City.
Thank you. What people can't see is our colleague Nick Caswell from the Veterans Contact Point, which is a veterans organisation that is based in the north of the county. One of the issues that's come up in the work that myself and other people have been doing around this are some of the issues about those that served around Northern Ireland and those that really don't like giving information into what is perceived to be a government agency. So if we take the Northern Ireland issue first, when that conflict was happening, those that were serving in the armed forces and their families were basically told not to tell anybody that they were a serving person and not to wear their uniform in public. And we know that many people carry on that legacy even to this day, and even when they're talking with other people or other agencies, will not disclose that they were in the armed forces because of that time and period in their lives. So one of the things that we need to be clear with people is that they do need to tick that box, and that it's perfectly safe to tick that box. So if you just want to go over the difference between that data that's collected and personal information, and why this is completely secure and it's completely safe for people to identify that they were serving in the armed forces.
I think the one of the main points is that, as I said at the start, that the first census was 1801, and it's happened every 10 years except for the 1941. There has never been a data breach in that time. I think the other thing to remember is that this is a census, ONS, run by the ONS, but it is run by the UK's largest statistical body, which is independent of the government. So it's not a government agency. It's a government, it reports to the government, but it stands apart from the government. None of the data, none of the personal information will ever be used by the government. It will never be accessible by any of the government agencies, any of the government departments, or anybody outside. As soon as the census is completed, the numbers get separated from the personal information. So the numbers are pulled out and used by local authorities, by charities, by the Royal British Legion, etc., to find out population, to find out the numbers that they want to record, but no personal information. So the two will be completely separate until 100 years later, when those details are released.
Excellent. So when this information is being used, it's very much used at an aggregate level of everybody kind of added together. And even when that information is applied on a geographic basis, the information will only go so far down in terms of a geographic basis. So nobody's postcode would ever be identified through that process.
One kind of amusing example is that everybody likes to know what baby names are popular that year. Well, if there are a group of baby names which are so unusual that there's just a handful of babies being called that name, the ONS doesn't even release that particular baby name, because it could be found, those children could be found, those families could be identified, which I think is quite an interesting example of how they realise that, or how important to ONS keeping that data secure and secret for 100 years is part of their, part of the way they operate.
Yeah, that's really good. So anything that might potentially identify an individual will not be used and will not be released. So that gives people that kind of sense, hopefully, that sense of safety that they can identify themselves as veterans, which is great.